Now, there's a lot of car flip videos out there, some of them focusing on exotic transformations or complicated restorations and making big profit claims. But let's be honest, while they're fun to watch, unless you have all the tools and time in the world, they're just not practical for most of us. So for the flip in this video, we grabbed a Hyundai Accent, a super basic car, nothing fancy, and we sold it for solid profit. And the way we did it was by focusing on repairs and improvements that increased the perceived value of the car to a buyer. And more importantly, I skipped the things that wouldn't have added anything to my final sale price. Because if you're not careful, that car flip could turn into a money pit, and that almost rhymes. And stick around to the end, because I'm actually going to share with you some of the mistakes I made on this flip so you don't have to. So why did I pick this car? Why did I pick the 2015 Hyundai Accent? It had a lot going for it that would make it attractive for a potential buyer. It had fairly low miles at 85,000. It had good tires. It had good working AC, which is a huge deal here in Hawaii, because if you don't have AC, it's really expensive to fix. And it's a 2015 Hyundai Accent. Like, I could sell that car to anybody, anyone looking for a commuter car, a fuel-efficient four-door. It's widely desired type of car. Now, when it came to bad things about the car, right away, even from the listing, I noticed that it was pretty used. So it had some faded paint, some scratches, the headlights were kind of oxidized, etc. But there were three main problem areas that I was interested in. One was the interior, which was super gross, but was intact. So there were no tears in the seats, there were no cracks in the dashboard. So I knew that it could be cleaned. The other one was the windshield, had a massive spiderweb crack in it, which looked really bad, and I knew would keep it from getting safety checked and registered. If, as long as it's in the budget, windshields are easy to replace. And then the last one was a big rusty paint chip spot in the back right, which honestly made me consider not going for this flip at all because I'm not a paint guy. But it looked so bad that I knew I could use that as well as these other problems as leverage in my offering price. Now, the guy I bought it from wanted $3,000 for the car. And I knew that if it was repaired, fixed up, I could probably sell it for close to $5,000. So as I was driving to look at it, I was planning to offer him $2,500. But when I saw that rust spot, I got a little nervous. And so I decided to lowball him at $1,700. He countered with 18, and I said, nah, I'm ready to walk away. 17 is my highest offer, and he took it. So I now own a Hyundai project car. So I was stoked. I got a sweet deal on a Hyundai Accent for $1,700, which is half the battle because flipping is all about the buy, right? Then I just had to get to work and actually make some profit. Now, if you really want to binge, we've made full-length videos on each section of this car flip, and we'll include the links above when we're talking about that section, as well as links in the description. First thing I did was get that windshield replaced. Now, I anticipated it would be about $500 to get it replaced. Ended up being closer to $600 with the installation and shipping. But it was close enough to what I had budgeted, and it didn't cost me any time. So with the windshield out of the way, I tackled the interior. Now, obviously, the seats were the worst part. Looked like several people had been murdered in the car. So instead of spending a week with a little upholstery cleaner, I decided to go scorched earth, and I just removed the seats completely, took them out on the driveway, and took a pressure washer to them. And I was very happy with the results, actually. There were some surprises along the way with that process, but it worked out quite well. With the seats out of the car, actually, one of the added benefits was I was able to clean the rest of the interior a little bit easier. Carpets, dashboard, headliner. Headliner looked like blood stains, but probably just like food splatters on it, as well as the door panel fabric. When I got the car, it was missing a couple floor mats. So I went online and got an inexpensive set, brand new, and it looked great. So all said and done, the interior cleaning took me about a weekend to do and only cost me $30 in cleaning supplies. So the next frontier that I had to tackle was the exterior of the car. And obviously I was most concerned about that rusty paint chip spot on the back corner. I dug into that, started chipping pieces away to find out what I was up against. As I've mentioned before, I'm not really a paint bodywork guy, so I was extra concerned about it for that reason as well. And to some degree, my fears were confirmed because I found out that that was actually an old damaged spot that someone had tried to repair, and it was a little bit deeper than it looked on the surface. So I ended up having to bring the body panel out a little bit, get into a bunch of layers of Bondo, and then I could begin my painting. So I did the primer, color, and then a really nice clear coat. It all sounds simple when I talk about it now, but there was like long waiting periods in between coats of color, coats of clear. So the whole painting process took a week or more if you count all the waiting for stuff to dry. But I was really happy with how it turned out. I felt like I did a good job and that it was a good permanent fix that will last a really long time. And in addition to that, obviously, I added to the value of what I'm going to be able to charge when I sell the car. Who wants a car with a giant gaping hole in it? So then I moved on to other exterior parts of the car. One really glaring eyesore was the rearview mirrors had really chipped, nasty paint. So because I had leftover clear coat and color coat from the rust spot, I just quickly tuned up those mirrors, popped the shells off, and made them look actually brand new. While I was in the painting mode, I also pulled each wheel off and sanded down and repainted the center metal section. So instead of seeing rust behind the hubcaps, you see a nice black. So it's little touches like that that I like to do that remove obvious eyesores that would be distracting for a buyer that don't really cost that much money or time. One big eyesore was pretty much every corner of the car had bumpers like flinging out there. So got a pack of zip ties and a drill bit, some wire, and I tuned all those bumpers up so they're nice and flush with the rest of the body. Again, removing distractions. And one of my all-time favorite flip things to do on any car is make those headlights totally clear again. These ones were pretty yellow, pretty foggy. That always makes a car look kind of old. And so I find that when you have nice crystal clear headlights, it lends an air of newness. And again, this process doesn't take much time, maybe half hour. And one thing that bugs me about these old Hyundais is the door handles get really ratty, but they are such a pain to actually replace the handles. So one trick that I've learned that is actually kind of fun is I order some handle covers on eBay and they just slap right on there. I sprung $5 extra to get the black ones instead of the chrome. Now, something on the exterior that I chose not to do was to fix the overall paint. Now, there was a lot of damage on the roof and the hood from the sun, and I tried a couple things that didn't really work. I could have sanded it all down and repainted it or hired a guy to come in and repaint everything. And it would have looked really good, really sleek, but it would have totally eaten into all my profits. So what I chose to do was focus on fixing the rust problems that are actually damaging the car and leave the old faded paint as part of just a used old car and hope that someone that's interested in this vehicle isn't getting it because it's a Mustang and looks really cool, but that it's a reliable, safe, fuel efficient car. All in all, cleaning up the exterior of the car with painting and everything cost me about $350. One of the great things about this car is I didn't really have to do any engine work. What I did do was change the oil so that a potential buyer looking at it would pull a dipstick and see nice clean oil. For me as a car buyer, when I see clean oil, it just makes me feel like the owner actually took care of the car that I'm buying. One annoying thing that did happen was about a week or two after I bought the car, airbag light came on, but luckily it turned out to be the clock spring in the steering wheel, which was a $35 part on eBay and took me like an hour to put in. Now with all the work done, it was time to list it. Now there's a few things that I like to focus on when I'm listing my car. And obviously it starts with good pictures. So I try not to take pictures of what I'm selling in my driveway. I try to take it to a nicer place and make it look a little more intentional. I feel like people can tell when you're listing a car how much you care about not only the car, but how much you care about selling it. Now, I obviously focus on the good parts of the car, trying to take pictures that feature what I've done to make it better and maybe avoid some of the things that aren't as attractive. Now, when it comes to writing the description about the car, I obviously include everything that it's got going for it. Low miles, newer tires, yada, yada, yada. Now, I also want to show that I'm being honest. So that means I'll include some things that aren't so great about the car. In this case, it would be faded paint on the roof and the hood. And that does a couple things. It shows people that I'm not trying to trick them, that I'm being honest about how the car is. And also it removes some of the surprises so that when the buyer gets there, all of a sudden there's all this damage that he didn't know existed. Kind of like when I went and saw the rust spot that was never mentioned when I bought the car. I actually made a full video on Facebook Marketplace scams when you're buying a car. So you essentially just want to go watch that video and avoid doing any of those things that seem scammy. And now the fun part, the sale. So I bought this for $1,700. I was supposed to spend $800 was what I budgeted, but I ended up being close to $1,000. So it put me at $2,700 into the project. Now I wanted minimum to sell it for $5,000, which would give me $2,300 profit on the flip. So I had the listing up for about a week and a half. And like I suspected, I had quite a bit of interest because it's just an affordable four-door sedan. But I had to put up with the normal Facebook Marketplace nonsense, people asking if it's available and then never showing up, all that stuff. But finally, after a week and a half, I had a lady show up to take a look at the car. And initially I could tell she didn't like how the paint looked on the roof and the hood. So as I got talking to her, I found out that she was mainly looking for a car that would be dependable and fuel efficient. So I kind of guessed that the paint wouldn't be a deal breaker for her. She initially offered me $4,800. But after going back and forth with her, we finally agreed on $5,200. If I add up all the hours I actually worked, it's about a week's worth. So $2,500 profit is a win in my books. So now I want to share some of the mistakes I made so hopefully you can avoid them. The first of which was when I was pressure washing those seats, I initially tried to pull the cover off one of the front seats thinking that it would be faster and better, and it just ended up taking so much longer with clips and screws and plastic pieces. So if I were to do this again, I would have left that cover on the seat and blasted it like the rest of them and saved a bunch of time. The next mistake I made was during working on that rusty spot in the back, where I tried to save money by polishing the clear coat by hand. And after about an hour of polishing and only finishing that much, I realized I was gonna spend the rest of my life polishing that thing. So I got online, spent 60 bucks and got a polisher. Once I had the polisher in hand, it took me like 30 minutes to finish the job. So it just goes to show that spending a few extra bucks can be well worth it to save a lot of time. And if you wanna go deeper, check out this playlist on all the delicious transformations in this flip.